What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Real Ones Canes podcast. I'm the Beast, Brian London. Brandon O'Doy, my normal co-host. He's with his family, which is probably a much happier endeavor than what this is about to be after Miami loses to Georgia Tech in Atlanta. Now, I was supposed to go to this game, but I woke up Thursday, 24 hours before the trip, and I just had a bad feeling. You know what? I'm like, something doesn't feel right. So canceled the trip. It's okay. Actually, I was like, you know what? I'll save the money on this and all the frequent flyer miles and hotel points for the playoff. Ha! Anyways, so I didn't go to Atlanta. So I'm in my bedroom. And let's talk about this game. We knew it was coming, right? Like somewhere along the lines, whether it was now or in the ACC championship game or in the playoff in the first round, like we knew it was coming. A loss, right? We knew that somewhere the defense being suspect would hurt us, right? Like we all knew this, right? I mean, maybe we didn't try to consciously think about it. Maybe we tried to push it back somewhere inside our brain, but we all knew this, right? Like we saw the way that Miami played in all of those games they had to make a comeback to win. And we said to ourselves, at some point, this is going to bite us in the ass. And it did. And I've surveyed the social media. I have listened to some of the post-game show on the old AM radio. And listen, it's really simple in my mind. And sure, can I go back and nitpick things about certain calls on offense and throws Cam made or didn't make, or decisions he made or didn't make, or drops by wide receivers, or penalties that weren't called, or this or that, or anything else? Sure, I can. But the sole reason Miami lost this football game is because they could not stop the run. They could not stop the run despite knowing full well that Georgia Tech was basically just going to run the football. Their quarterback was injured. He really couldn't throw. Now, he made 6 throws. He was 6 for 6, but there was nothing crazy. There was no NFL throws being made by Haynes King today, right? He just happened to get lucky because Miami defensive backs were slipping or not in the right coverage, and so he hit open receivers a couple times. But for the most part, Miami knew exactly what Georgia Tech was going to do, right? And despite basically being beat by about 4 or 5 running concepts, right? How many times are we going to see the sweep? It just, despite knowing that, I mean, they knew it. They knew it. They knew it. They talked about it. They knew it. They knew it. And they couldn't stop it. Couldn't stop it. Now, listen, I'm not a good enough football savant to start to break down the structural reasons as to why they couldn't stop the run or what defenses they were in that they couldn't stop the run. Although I do know that, generally speaking, I've shaken my head so many times this year at linebackers or defensive ends in coverage. But that's neither here nor there, right? Miami couldn't stop the run. 271 yards rushing for Georgia Tech. Also, they converted on almost all the third downs, including a 3rd and 18. You are not going to win football at any level whatsoever if you cannot stop the run. Georgia Tech had a drive that was almost 11 minutes. They had 10 more minutes of possession time. The reason why Miami lost is because they couldn't stop the run. And what did that do? That gave Miami less offensive possessions. And when Miami doesn't have the ball in Cam Ward's hands, they're not going to win. Now, again, we can go nitpick. On the 4th and 3, should they have tried a cutesy play or just run Damian Martinez because it was working? On the 4th and long, should they have kicked the field goal instead of going for it? we could sit here and nitpick all of the plays, and you're right. You're exactly right. Okay. And if you're screaming about a referee that didn't call a pass interference, and if you're screaming about this and that, you're right on all of it. You're completely right. But that's not the reason they lost the game. Okay. It's just not. Like Sam Brown dropping a football over the middle is not the reason they lost a game. It's just not. They lost the game because they could not stop the run. It's as simple as that. And we knew this was coming. Not just what Georgia Tech was going to do, but that the defense not being good enough was going to hurt them at some point. I think Miami could have a championship offense. They certainly do not have a championship defense. And we've known it for weeks. We've known it for weeks. The back end has not been good enough. The linebackers have been too inconsistent. And the defensive line's good, but when you don't have the other 2/3 of the defense working in your favor, they can't do it by themselves. A defense can't work that way. Now, I will also say this. There can be no doubt or question. Miami was out-coached in every aspect of this game. Out-coached. Now, Georgia Tech's defensive coordinator did a good enough job to prevent some stuff that Miami likes to try to do. They had a bye week to prepare for it. But on the other side of the football, right, Lance Guidry did not match up well enough with Georgia Tech's offensive coordinator. Like, there was an imbalance there. Just not good enough. Just not. I mean, you've been lucky. The defense has been lucky in games because they've been able to make adjustments at halftime or maybe somewhere in the second half and get it together. And the offense got kicking. That gave the team momentum, and the defense, was able to do enough to win. That didn't happen today. I mean, I don't know what they did at halftime, but whatever adjustments they tried to make, that didn't work either. You're not going to win football games allowing 271 yards rushing, allowing a team to have almost an 11-minute possession. You're just not going to win. Doesn't matter if you have Cam Ward or Joe Montana or Dan Marino or, insert quarterback here. You're just not going to win. Team was outplayed, outcoached. Not good enough on defense. Talent on defense, and you're missing guys. I get that, right? Like, you could have used Popo, Raul Aguirre on defense at linebacker. You could have used a Brown in the secondary. Like, you could have used guys, sure, but just not good enough. And this comes down to personnel management. And frankly, in the NIL era, it comes down to how you spend your dollars, right? Miami spent money on Cam Ward. Someday we'll tell that story. On Martinez, on Sam Brown, spent their money on offensive players and defensive line, right? Some big time defensive line transfers, and that's where your talent is. That's where your talent is. So now, I mean, Miami still kind of controls their own destiny, right? They have a bye week, then they play Wake Forest, and they play Syracuse up there in the Dome, which that game scares me. And then if you win both those, you still go to the ACC championship. And then that game scares me. Playing SMU scares me, I'll be honest with you. Maybe you think I'm crazy, but Rhett Lashley knows how to dial up an offense. And after today, you think that Miami's defense is ready for that challenge? I don't. If SMU's the team to make it there. And then, if you win that, you go to the playoff and probably get waxed by someone. Because as I'm watching football today, right, as I'm watching the afternoon games, Georgia Ole Miss is a big boy football game. Like there's some football being played out there that's big boy football. Miami's not at that level yet. They're just not. They've been carried all season by a Heisman caliber quarterback, some amazing plays that have been made by wide receivers and running backs and blocking by offensive line, and a defense that has every once in a while found its footing to make a couple stops to win games. But if we really took a step back, took the 35,000-foot view, if you really were unbiased and you watched all the other teams in college football, did you really think that Miami was truly a step above? I didn't. And I've been saying it to Brandon all year long, like I'm afraid to anoint this team, and it's because of a day like this. I just had a feeling that a day like this would happen. And here we are. So Miami's a bye week, and now we'll see. This week right here, despite the fact that there is no game, this is the week, the most important week for Mario Cristobal, because this is the week where we find out if this guy can really coach or it's more of the same. Right? You have a chance to repair yourself in this bye week. Fix what you need to fix. Now, maybe you can't, listen, maybe the problems on defense are just, you can't fix it in the bye week. That's going to take something in the offseason. It's going to take some sort of, movement on that side of the football, if you catch my drift, before you can fix that. Maybe it's about you need portal players all over the place on the defense. Whatever it is, maybe it can't be fixed in the bye week. But you gotta try, right? You're going to play a Wake Forest team that's not good. But at this point, does one loss become three? This is the most important week for Mario Cristobal. Can he get this team? They've been preaching the 1-0. We're 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. We're not going to talk about this, and then 1-0, 1-0. Can this team truly be 1-0? Because if so, then, you have the bye week, and then it's a brand new season. You put this in the past. You win against Wake Forest. You win against Syracuse. You go to the ACC championship game, win that, go to the playoff. If it's truly a 1-0 team. Or do you come out in 2 weeks against Wake Forest and drag ass? Because one loss just blew everything up. I mean, this is the week. This is the most important week. So we'll find out. We'll find out. We'll find out in 2 weeks against Wake Forest in the final home game of the season at Hard Rock. So, yeah, not a good day, Canes fans. It's funny. Well, it's not really funny. I was so pissed off by the defense that I stopped drinking whatever I had in my big green Flanagan's cup. And I was thinking about getting the Pepto-Bismol out for this video, but it was like I didn't have the energy to even go into my medicine cabinet and get it. I was like, whatever. I'm just going to turn the microphone on and go. I don't have the energy for that. So that's where we are right now. 9-1 it is. Hopefully it's just one. We'll figure it out. We'll have more on the Real Ones Canes podcast. We come your way every week, myself and Brandon O'Doy, twice a week. So please subscribe wherever you're listening to this. If you're watching this on one of the YouTube pages, subscribe to that YouTube page. Do us the favor and be a part of the Real Ones Canes podcast community. Hey, if you'd like to sponsor the show, feel free and hit me up on the X at Miami Radio Beast. Until next time, I will see you when I see you. Peace.